All right, let's just jump right into it. Picture this, a whole country completely turned upside down in a full-blown identity crisis. And they decide to do something, well, something nobody thought was even possible. They put their own king on trial for his life. And believe me, this isn't some fantasy novel. This actually happened. This is the wild, true story of England back in the 1600s.
I mean, how do you even do that? How does a country fire its king? It's a pretty wild question, right? You know, today we've got things like impeachments, elections. But back then, the very idea was insane. It was revolutionary. It was the kind of question that could get you in a lot of trouble. And yet, this is the very question that ripped England apart and completely changed the game for rulers and the people they ruled forever. Okay, so to get how we got to that point, we've got to rewind a bit. England was basically locked in this epic tug of war. It was a clash between two giant, totally opposite ideas about who should be in charge. This was, no joke, a fight for the very soul of the nation.
And this really breaks it down for you. On one side, you've got King Charles I, and his whole deal was what's called the divine right of kings. He was convinced, and I mean he really believed it, that God put him on the throne. So his word was law, period. He answered to God, and that's it. But then on the other side, you have Parliament, and they're pushing this, well, this totally radical new idea. Hey, wait a minute, the king isn't above the law. They believed that they represented the nation, and they should have a say. You can see how these two ideas were just on a collision course. There was no way they could both exist in the same country.
So into this absolute firestorm steps our main guy. And he is the most unlikely leader you could possibly imagine. Not some big-shot nobleman, not born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Nope. His name was Oliver Cromwell, and he was about to change everything.
So who was this Cromwell guy? Well, for starters, he was basically a farmer. A gentleman farmer, sure, but still, a guy who lived out in the countryside. He was also a really devout Puritan. His faith wasn't just a Sunday thing, it was everything to him. It shaped his entire view of the world. He was a million miles away from the fancy, glittering world of the king's court.
Now, he did have a little bit of political experience. He was a member of parliament, but kind of just one of the guys in the back. A backbencher, as they say. He was known for getting pretty fired up and making these passionate speeches, but nobody really saw him as a leader. He wasn't a major player. Well, not yet.
But then, the English Civil War breaks out, and this is where everything changes. It turns out this quiet Puritan farmer had a secret talent. He was an absolute military genius. No joke. He puts together this incredible fighting force, the new model army, super disciplined, super motivated, and they just started winning. They completely turned the tide of the war for Parliament. Suddenly, this guy nobody knew goes from zero to hero, becoming the best general in the entire country.
So Parliament wins the war, thanks in large part to Cromwell. But that victory created a brand new and frankly a terrifying problem. Okay, you've defeated the king in battle, but now what do you do with him? What came next was the single most shocking decision in the history of England.
Just let that sink in for a minute. What's the punishment when a king commits treason against his own people? I mean, think about it. Treason was always something you did against the king. The very notion that a king could betray his own country, it was mind-blowing. It flipped the whole idea of law and order completely upside down.
And that was the core of it. The prosecution's case was simple but devastating. They said, he has shed the blood of his people, and for this, he must answer. They weren't just charging him with a crime. They were accusing him of breaking the most fundamental promise a ruler makes to his people, and they were demanding that he be held accountable for it.
And they did it. In the year 1649, for the very first time in English history, a sitting king was put on trial, found guilty, and publicly executed. Just like that, centuries of tradition of how the world was supposed to work were just gone.
Okay, so you've executed the king. Now what? Turns out, getting rid of the old system is one thing, but building a new one from scratch, that's a whole different ballgame. England was now a republic, a Commonwealth. Sounds good, right? The only problem was, nobody had a clue how to actually run a country without a king. And things got chaotic fast. And you can see that chaos play out right here. In 1649, they declare this new republic. But it just doesn't work. The politicians couldn't stop arguing, nothing was getting done. By 1653, Cromwell had had enough. He literally marches soldiers into Parliament and tells them all to go home. He just dissolves the government. And shortly after that, he's given a new title, Lord Protector.
And this right here is the central contradiction of Cromwell.
It's the great paradox. The guy who led a revolution against a king he thought was a tyrant, well, he was now basically ruling as a military dictator himself. But it gets even weirder. The country was so unstable that Parliament, desperate for some kind of order, goes to Cromwell with this unbelievable offer. They ask him to become king. King Oliver I. Can you imagine? The very thing this whole bloody, devastating war had been fought to get rid of.
He actually thought about it for weeks. He agonized over it, and in the end, his answer was, I cannot. He refused. He said it was against God's will for him to take the crown. It was a huge, dramatic moment. But while he said no to the title of king, the power of a king, that was another story.
And check this out. It really lays it all bare. As Lord Protector, Cromwell could command the army, he could veto laws, king stuff. But here's the kicker. He could also dismiss Parliament, something even King Charles couldn't do. So he had all the power of a king, and then some. The only real differences were that he didn't call himself king, and his son wouldn't automatically take over when he died.
Cromwell ruled England until he died in 1658. And you know what happened just 2 years after that? They brought the monarchy back. Yep, they invited the executed king's son to come back and take the throne as King Charles II. So after all of that, the war, the execution, the revolution, what was it all for? What is Cromwell's legacy?
Well, history has never been able to make up its mind about him. For some people, he's a hero. He's the guy who stood up to tyranny, who fought for Parliament, and for a more tolerant society. But for others, he's an absolute villain, a military dictator who ruled with an iron fist, crushed anyone who disagreed with him, and led a truly brutal campaign in Ireland. And the thing is, there's a lot of truth to both sides.
So, what's the verdict? Hero or villain? Oliver Cromwell is just one of those figures